Welcome back to a trade deadline edition of Double A Sports Betting
Oh
Baseball
yeah,
Betting
baby.
with Andrew and Aiden. So we are just gonna recap players and where they will be off to in like a week or two from now. Will they be with their current teams? Will they or will they get traded? So let's get the show on the road.
It's gonna be a lot of fun. There's a lot of trade talk going on right now across baseball. The
Especially
biggest,
Shohei Ohtani.
yeah, the biggest story of the game. Will Shohei Ohtani be traded, or will he still be an Angel come August 3rd? All right. So where do you think Shohei Ohtani is gonna be after the trade deadline?
I personally think that Ohtani will be in the Covey Cove, smoking balls over the right field wall
Some
into the
splashdown home
Cove,
runs.
flash down home runs in San Francisco. Um, San Francisco has, I believe, like three legitimate starting pitchers, and I feel like um I feel like with Shohei Ohtani, San Francisco could possibly run with that division come October without having to pay a heavy price for him for a half a year, not even rental, just to um make a championship push at the World Series this year. So I think Otani will be in San Fran, and if that happens, look out, look out. San Fran could be one of the top three, top five favorite teams to win it all this year if that happens.
Yeah, I considered picking the Giants for my Shohei Ohtani destination. I think the Giants have the need for another starting pitcher. They definitely could use some more offense. He fits perfectly in that ballpark, like you were talking about with McCovey Cove. I mean, they've had a Barry Bonds, one of the best left-handed hitters of all time. Uh, and McCovey Cove hitting splashdown home runs. And the Giants also have a pretty good farm system as well. So I think there's the need there. You know, the National League West is kind of still open with the Dodgers, D-backs. Even the Padres are kind of coming back. So I think the Giants definitely are a destination. And with the Giants too, I think they're a legit team that's in contention in the offseason to sign Ohtani to a long-term deal. They're on the West
Yeah,
Coast. They missed out on
big
Giancarlo
market team
Stanton
too.
a couple years ago. They obviously that Carlos Correa debacle in the offseason with the failed physical. So I think the Giants could definitely be a team. I consider them. They're in my top three destinations. I think Ohtani could be traded to here at the deadline. But my team that I'm going with is the Baltimore Orioles, baby. They have more kids on their team than to do with. It's like that show that it was on like TBS, like 17 and counting. It's like their farm system is so loaded with these kids. They have enough prospect capital to trade off and not have to worry about their farm system tanking. I mean, I don't think anyone was expecting the Orioles to be this good this fast. So the urgency to win now. The Tampa Bay Rays. I mean, the Orioles just won a series in Tampa Bay against the Rays. So they really also they had the need, right? They really need a starting pitcher. Grayson Rodriguez. He
He
struggled
needs
so
time.
far. So he's not there yet. Kyle Gibson's an innings eater. They have had some pretty good starts from Tyler Wells or Kyle Bradish, but that's not going to win you postseason games.
Yeah.
You got to give the ball to someone that has got elite stuff like Ohtani does, and then also another bat that you could throw right in the middle of that order with Adley Rutschman and Santander and Gunnar Henderson. That lineup is just going to be even deeper than it already is. So I think the Orioles. I don't think they're a team that's going to sign him in the off season. But I think that the urgency to win now, the need for a starting pitcher and another bat to add on with the prospect capital to pull it off, and even win major league ready talent if they need to trade. I don't see them trading a gunner, but trading a Colton Cowser who they call up recently or Jordan Westberg. I totally could see
Or
that.
Jackson Holiday will definitely be on the board
No,
in the
no
trade.
shot
In
Jackson
that
Holiday
trade,
going for a rental.
in that
Unless they
hypothetical,
extended Ohtani, unless they felt confident in extending Ohtani, which the Orioles aren't really big spenders,
I
as
don't
we
know,
see this
man.
offseason,
I
this
don't know,
past one.
man. It's a once in a life opportunity to win the championship ring, so we'll see. Um, but all right, let's get to our next team who is
Yeah, team that's
selling on the list.
kind of
Let's
been on the rise.
well, sure, but I mean, I think that they are as good as toast with the way. Well, my Diamondbacks have been slumping lately, but listen, once we get that pitching and that bullpen slash closer, we'll be all good to go. But anyway, let's get to the Padres. We got three players who have been mentioned in trade talks from the team on our list that can um that consist of Juan Soto, uh Blake Snell, and Josh Hader, the closer. So let's talk about each of these three and where they will go.
Yeah, I think there was a report earlier today that confirmed that as of now, the Padres are going to hold on to Blake Snell and Josh Hader, no mention of Juan Soto. And I think, um, I'm a big believer in the Padres. Even before that report came out, I'm like, this Padres team, they are a legit World Series contender. When you look at their lineup, they got Bogarts, they got Tatis, they got Soto, they got Machado, four excellent offensive players. Their
Also,
starting
Kim Chu
pitching
has been
staff. Yeah,
has
I
been
mean they
pretty
have good
good this year.
complementary players like Kim. I know Cronenworth struggled this year. Gary Sanchez kind of coming along and providing some offensive spark too for that lineup. And then they also got good starting pitching, right? They got Joe Musgrove, Yu Darvish, and Blake Snell, who we mentioned. And they also got an elite closer and another guy who's been
Don't
mentioned in
forget
trade talk,
about
Josh Hader. So they
don't
have
forget about Walker.
everything that you need, I think, to really win the World Series. And they're a team that kind of underperformed based on their run differential. I mean, they got a plus 52 run differential, which is better than both the Diamondbacks and the Giants in the National League West, although they're behind both of those teams in the standings. So I think this is a team that they're going to hold on, and I think they could do exactly what the Phillies did last year, but maybe actually finish it off with the ring.
Well, I mean, I don't know, man. Like, I think the Padres are as good as toast. I think that Bob Melvin deserves to be fired after this year. No, he's had two seasons now to show what like he could do with that um you know star-studded team. But so far no results. But anyway, let me talk about where I think the players on the Padres will go for my trade predictions. So I got Juan Soto and Blake Snell staying put, but I got closer Josh Hader on the move to the Atlanta Braves. Um, I personally think that Raciel Iglesias has regressed, unfortunately, and um, Curb, yeah, and Kirby, Kirby just isn't a closer in my opinion either. So I think like that, I think that Hater would fit that team perfectly in the bullpen in that closing role at Trust Park.
Yeah, I mean, when I was making my picks earlier today, I was taking a look at each team and I was writing down, what each team needs. And I think I listed almost every single contender as needing a relief pitcher. I mean, you could never have enough relief pitching. I mean, if you look at the Braves right now, they have their back end guys right now are Raisel Iglesias, who you mentioned, Joe Jimenez, and Kirby Yates, and Colin McHugh as well should also be mentioned. But I mean, if you think about it, that's not those are some guys that have had some really good success in the past, but no one is, I think, the type of guy you're going to be confident with, a 2-run lead or a 1-run lead, in an October game against a good offense like Josh Hader can, where Hader, he's had the postseason experience, he's got elite stuff. His ERA is sub 1 right now. He's back to that. There was that scare here the past year and a half where you're kind of like, has Hader lost that elite status? having some trouble with the gopher ball, giving up too many home runs. But I think Hader has, proven again he is still an elite back end reliever.
Yes, I totally agree with that statement, and that's why I see him going to the Atlanta Braves. All right, let's talk about one of the most. Let's talk about one of like the most disappointing teams in baseball and primary sellers coming trade deadline. The St. Louis Cardinals. Music to Cubs fans' ears. But anyway, so like for the Cardinals, I see like about half of this offense or more than half of this offense potentially getting traded away um besides like Paul Goldschmidt, uh Jordan Walker and what's his name? Aaron Otto
Nolan
are the
Arenado.
only three untouchables on that offense, I believe, in my opinion. But I think that the primary candidate to be dealt is going to be pitcher Jack Flaherty. Really popular name out there. And for me, I have Flaherty going to the Cincinnati Reds. Man, does that Reds team need starting pitching, man? Hunter Green on the shelf. We do not know when he's coming back. So far, the only proven starter is their rookie starting pitcher, Andrew Abbott, and like you know, rookie pitching can like take you like so far, come like you know playoff play, wild card play. So I think that the Cardinals and Cincinnati Reds will make a trade for Jack Flaherty come the trade deadline before August 1st.
Yeah, I mean, like you mentioned, with Andrew Abbott, the rookie pitcher being the best starting pitcher, and there's always, innings restrictions, and you see, teams shutting guys down. Look at Yuri Perez and the Marlins getting sent back to the minor leagues to control his innings. So, you can't rely in the modern age, you can't rely on young, youthful pitching in October to at least give you any sort of length whatsoever. The problem with Flaherty going to the Cardinals is that interdivision trade, which lots of people love to shy away from. Lots of owners and GMs like to shy
Yeah,
away from that. So I just
but
don't see Flaherty
man,
going to the
but
Reds.
man, um, if you can get a hand on one of those Cincinnati prospects, I would definitely take it if I were the
The
Cardinals.
Reds do have a lot to deal. I just don't know how much. I don't think they're going to buy as much as people think they are because I think they're starting to kind of come back down to earth. They're 5-5. They have won five in a row, um, but
They're
they
only
did
like
lose.
half a
I
game
think they
out.
had lost at least five in a row before they have won five.
I think they're
The
only like
current
I
five in a
only
row. So
I think I think they're only half a game out of this Central as we speak. Right now, playing against
yeah,
Milwaukee.
yeah. I mean, the Reds could definitely go for it. I mean, I think they're a little bit premature. I don't think that they the Reds are the type of team I don't think that they would do anything in the postseason. It's kind of one of those teams where I think, can they win regular season games? Sure, but in a postseason series up against a team, a good team, I just don't see them really doing much. All right, so for me, for Flaherty, I'm thinking what team is going to look at Flaherty and going to try to make him a little bit better, play up a little bit. Because Flaherty's kind of struggled. He had that one excellent season, I believe it was 2018 or 2019, and he really hasn't been anything close to that ace caliber pitcher.
Yeah.
And one of the best teams, in my opinion, in the game at developing pitching is the Atlanta Braves. And not only that, Jack Flaherty reuniting with Max Fried, his former high school teammate at Harvard Westlake in the SoCal area. I think that would just be great. The Braves need another reliable starting pitcher. They have Charlie Morton, who's won the World Series before with the Astros. Fried, should be able to make it back this year, hopefully for them. And then they're also relying on these other guys like AJ Smith-Shawver, the rookie Soroka, who just got optioned again. He doesn't look like he's got. I don't know if Soroka is that a guy that you feel confident giving the ball to in October. So when you get a guy like Flaherty who's got good stuff, I think the Braves are the type of team that could really turn that season around, and he'll, pitch a lot more like a guy that you want to give the ball to in October.
Yep, I totally agree with that. But anyway, oh, now, let's go ahead and let's go ahead and move on to the Cardinals' primary pen piece, who will be on the trading
Probably
block,
one of
and
the hardest throwers in
Jordan
the game.
Hicks. Jordan Hicks, and for me, I feel like my favorite team fits this bill perfectly. The Arizona Diamondbacks will be the team that Jordan Hicks ends up on post trade deadline. Man, do we need bullpen help over like these past like 5 or 7 games? We've had a whole bunch of blown blown victories and blown leads and all that due to our bullpen, other than Gunkel, in my opinion, who has been surprisingly good out of that pen this year. Um, but man, we do need bullpen help, and I just think that Jordan Hicks complements our pen perfectly as like seventh, eighth inning guy, can even close at times if called upon. But but for me, I totally see Jordan Hicks ending up at Chase Field playing for the Serpientes coming post August 1st.
For me, I'm going another West Coast team, but in the heart of Texas, the team that's hosting the 2024 All-Star Game, the Texas Rangers. They've shown aggression with making moves this year. Right, traded for Aroldis Chapman a couple months ago.
Yeah,
Hard flamethrower, back of the bullpen. The Rangers definitely need at least one or two, if not even more, pieces in that back end of the bullpen. Probably their biggest weakness by far, I would say. They're starting pitching, even without DeGrom. Evaldi's been really good. Dunning has been surprisingly good as well. To me, Jordan Hicks in that back of the bullpen to kind of fortify it with some of those other guys back there and Chapman. I just think it makes sense. You got a flamethrower from the right side, a flamethrower from the left side in that bullpen. And this is a team where I think this is a flash in the pan team. I think, you know, yeah, I like Corey Seager, Marcus Semien, like the two big contract guys of the middle, but I don't think that this team will necessarily play as good in the future. This could be their absolute best shot. I mean, you're talking about all these guys, it seems like everyone on that team has just had a career year this year. That just does not happen. We saw that with the Twins a couple years ago. Remember the Bomba squad? I
yeah,
mean, it was like everyone had like 25, 30 home runs on that team, and that was just a magical year. I kind of feel like it's that way this year for the Rangers, so they need to go for it. Jordan Hicks, solidify that back end. All right, let's talk. Let's go into the Mets, my New York Mets. I love the Mets. As a White Sox, growing up a White Sox fan, you kind of had that soft spot for the Mets too, the second team in their respective cities. So to me, with the Mets, when you talk about the Mets right now, you're talking about Verlander and
sellers,
Scherzer. Are they going to be
sellers.
dealt the $43 million a year men? And to me, I think that they're going to hold on to both of them. I just don't see how you can move a contract like that. And really, this Mets team is built not just for this year. This is, when they signed Scherzer a couple of off seasons ago and Verlander this off season, this was supposed to be a window here in contention. I don't think that the Mets are going to give up by trading those two guys. I think that it's just so hard to move a contract like that to find a team that's
Yeah,
going to be willing to take on that money. I think you're limiting your options so much with that contract unless Steve Cohen just eats that contract. What are your thoughts on the two aces of the Mets?
I think also that the two aces will be I think that the two aces will be staying put too, as well. I just don't see how you can move two veteran all-star pitchers and they're upper thirties with 3-year contracts, 4-year huge contracts, to like a whole different organization when like like when your like championship window is like going to be open till 2025, 2026 after they retire most likely. So I think that those two pitchers will be staying put, but if they do go, I think Scherzer will be the one to go, and I think that Scherzer will be going right across the street to the New York Yankees.
That would be
Um,
huge. That would be a gigantic news.
I, I'm telling you, man, the Yankees out of like all teams, along with the like Los Angeles Dodgers, will pay for like literally anything, you know, anything at the trade deadline. We've like seen it the past like a couple of seasons. Rizzo, Giancarlo Giancarlo Stanton, all those guys, locked up eventually, but were traded there off of like pretty much like rental contracts. So
Yeah,
Scherzer will be all locked up for the future, and I do not think I do not think that the New York Yankees are going to think about rebuilding ever.
no, you can't rebuild with that market with that franchise history. For me though, for the Yankees, I think if they're gonna trade, I think that the Mets Yankees thing kind of
Well, yeah, plays a
probably
part,
makes that trade very unlikely.
but
Although
the
I do kind of
prospects
agree,
though.
like in terms of a team that could take on that contract, the Yankees would clearly be one of the handful of teams. But I think if the Yankees are gonna get a starting pitcher, it's gonna be Ohtani. I think when I was listing out the top teams for Ohtani, I came up with four teams where I feel that have the best shot of trading for Ohtani. The Orioles I listed first. I listed the Yankees second, and then I put the Diamondbacks and I'm totally blanking on a team. I think it was the team you picked, the Giants. The Giants as well. I think those are the top four teams that have, prospects, the need for starting pitching, and the need for a bat, and have a contention window where they could legit win. So I think if the Yankees are going to trade it for a pitcher, it's going to be Ohtani over Scherzer. That's just me. But hey, let's
Speaking
see here.
about
Let's
hey, speaking about the Orioles, Colton Cowser RBI double to go and take the lead ahead of the Phillies as we speak.
future
3-2.
future Angel outfielder with Mickey Moniak, Colton
And
Cowser.
Nick has been a stud, but
All right, let's get into the two other Mets corner outfielders. I'm gonna say Tommy Pham goes to the Guardians and Mark Canha to the Brewers, both the central teams. The Guardians need some offense to, really other than J Ram and Josh Naylor. Their offense is kind of bleak, and in the postseason, Tommy Pham has been there and done that before. He's had flashes of being a really good player. He's been had a surprisingly good year as really a fourth outfielder coming into the year, kind of supplanting Mark Canha, who I think will be traded to the Brewers as an everyday outfielder. When you look at the Brewers lineup, you got Yelich, who's a left-handed hitting outfielder, Jesse Winker, who's a left-handed hitting outfielder. When Roddy Tellez comes back, he's a left-handed hitting first baseman, and Canha's been playing a lot of first base for the Mets, especially like late in games if Alonso's out there or out of the game or DHing. And Canha is the type of guy. Brewers are a big platoon team, so I think a guy that could play corner outfield first base just makes sense for them with quite a few left-handed hitters there.
yep, I totally agree. But I have two different teams where I have these two Mets players going to Tommy Pham, Philadelphia Phillies, and Mark Canha, the Mark Mark Canha, the Seattle Mariners. Um, so earlier today, several several reports came out of Tommy Pham linked to Philadelphia and Mark Hanna linked to his former rivalry team, the Seattle Mariners, back when he played for Oakland. I think for Seattle needs offensive help, man. Like too many too many too many strikeouts offensively. too many too many like leaving runners on base. That has to that has to stop coming for a team competing for wild card position potentially. And then for Tommy Pham, I think that the Philadelphia Phillies just make total sense. They got Brandon Marsh and Bryce Harper, but besides that, they need one more corner outfielder, I believe, slash bench player coming off the bench for the playoffs. So that's why I have those two going to their respective teams. All right, let's go to the biggest seller, the White Sox. Man, has it been a rough ride this year. Um, I well, I unfortunately have to witness it one more time, but I will not be sober, so it won't even matter.
Drink
Um,
away the issues. I don't
yep.
blame it. That team is pretty unwatchable. But
But hey, man, listen, Luis Robert, man, my favorite player. I get to go watch him at least once more this year. But you know,
I'm
everybody else
not
besides everybody else besides Robert, Cease, and Eloy and
probably Kopech.
Andrew Vaughn will be gone.
I do think that the White Sox are going to shop those names. I think Robert is the only guy that really makes sense for long term. The White Sox, I think, will probably kind of go into like a bit of a retool, like a
retool.
kind of like a half-ass rebuild per se. And with Robert, I think it's signed to like 2027 or 2028.
Well,
So I
and
think he could
plus,
be there when the White Sox could theoretically be a contender again, where
well,
all the other guys, Cease, Kopech, Jimenez, wouldn't. So I think that, they should take offers on those three guys and potentially even shop them in the off season, depending on
dope.
what the front
I,
office does.
I'm, I'm sorry. I do not want them to trade Cease, man. I think that Cease is they're certified ace for the future. And
I think you could keep Cease for the rest of this year and till next trade deadline, but I just don't see this White Sox team being a contender when Cease is a free agent. He's not going to re-sign with the White Sox. So I just
bro, dude, who the heck cares if the White Sox are contenders? It's the AL Central. Anybody can win
yeah, but
it.
the Guardians and the Twins just have just a much better. They're just a better organizations, top to
Twin,
bottom.
Twins and Guardians are both fluke years right now. Um, I
I
don't
think
think
the
that the
Twins are a lot better than people are giving them credit for. They got a good run differential. They have good starting pitching and an elite closer, which
elite, elite, elite strikeout rate too. One of the highest strikeout rates up there for any postseason team this year. But
no, that's
anyway,
true. All right, so let's get into the White Sox guys. We talked about Cease and Robert. Um,
I think that
let's let's
most
talk about
likely,
yeah. Go ahead.
I think that most likely White Sox player going to be gone though is Lucas
Yeah, he's a for
Giolito.
sure.
As
I think I
good as
think
gone.
I think the White Sox will trade five, six, seven, maybe eight, nine, 10 players even. There's so many guys that could and should be dealt. Let's do some of the relievers first, some of the, lesser names on this team. Kendall Graveman, I think is going to go to the Giants. Giants could fortify the back end of the bullpen. Joe Kelly, I think he's going to reunite with the Dodgers. This makes a lot of sense. And then I think really three guys. I think it's going to be a package deal, really. Lucas Giolito, Tim Anderson, Joe Kelly to the Dodgers. Giolito's obviously from the LA area, and I think, Tim Anderson early on in the year before he really, we really were like, whoa, is he really struggling this year? Everyone was like, Tim Anderson to the Dodgers, especially early April during that 10-game losing streak. But now that Tim Anderson's kind of starting to swing it again, I think the Dodgers, to me, they need an offensive upgrade at shortstop over Miguel Rojas. And I think just the Dodgers, the Dodgers, I think they're the best organization in the game. They're going to be able to get value out of Tim Anderson. And I really don't think the White Sox, I don't think it makes sense to keep Tim Anderson or really offer him that $14 million option. I think that's just not a good use of $14 million. come next offseason. To me, I would just trade him now and see if you could get him. Whether you package him in a deal, you might be able to get a little bit more.
Yeah, I totally agree. But I have a couple of different destinations for all the players. Well, actually, um we do agree. It looks like with I think like three of the White Sox players. I have Tim Anderson going to Los Angeles as well for the for like the like same exact reason as you. And then I have the certified cornerstones of the franchise, Luis Robert and Dylan Cease, remaining White Sox for plenty of seasons to come. Um, but I do have the bullpen a little bit spread out. I got Kendall Graveman going to the Arizona Diamondbacks, baby. Man, do we need a guy like Graveman? He's a dog. He'll give you he'll give you like that, seventh, eighth inning role. Perfect guy for that role. Um, I have Joe Kelly going to his old team, who actually isn't the Los Angeles Dodgers. I got Kelly going to the Boston Red Sox. Oh man, Boston Red Sox fans love to have Joe Kelly back as same for like any franchise he once played for. Um, and then I got the two starting pitchers, Lucas Giolito and Kendall Graveman, going in a package to the Arizona Diamondbacks for a whole lot of outfield prospects. And and then for Lance Lynn, I got Lance Lynn going to the Texas Rangers. So there have been so many there have been so many reports like the past couple weeks. Lance Lynn, to the Texas Rangers, I think the Texas front you know office loves Lance Lynn, and they will do almost anything to try and get him back at a relatively good price to pay. So yep, that's where I got all my White Sox players going though.
Yeah, I think the only guy I didn't mention was Lance Lynn. I think he's going to go to the Rays. Lance Lynn, I know this
That
year
has been another report as well.
yeah, I think Lance Lynn, he's struggled to throw strikes this year, but overall in his career, he's been a pretty good strike thrower.
He's been
Rays
striking
love,
out a lot of guys this year though.
yeah, the Rays love guys that could throw strikes, and I think, right, exactly like you said, he's striking out a lot of guys this year, and the Rays are just the type of team that when they get a pitcher, they're like, hey, this is your strengths, this is your weaknesses. Pitch to your strengths. If you have a good fastball and slider and your changeup sucks, they're going to tell you to stop throwing your changeup and just throw your fastball and slider. And if you have a really good slider, just throw right down the middle and let the movement, dictate
Yeah.
where it's going to go. And I mean, you see what they've done with Jake Diekman, White Sox failure this year. Diekman's looked really good and like a resurgent Jake Diekman with the Rays. That's what the Rays do, and I think Lance Lynn just fits that Tampa Bay Ray mold of pitching.
Yep. I
All right,
could
let's see. It
totally
looks like we might
picture
have
that.
time to talk about one or two more guys here. Let's go to the north side of town. The Crosstown Cup is starting here Tuesday and Wednesday. Um, it
In
will be
Chicago.
probably the least interested I've ever been in a Crosstown Classic. I can't remember ever being this disinterested. Two teams that are probably both going to sell. I think you could make the argument that the Cubs could hold on, and if they really held on, you could see a future where the Cubs win the division. Um, but
The
I do
only
think that the
reason to
Cubs are going to
watch this
sell.
the only reason to watch this crosstown cup is Luis Robert Jr. and Cody Bellinger. Only two reasons. And one of those guys, Cody Bellinger, will be gone by the trade deadline, in my opinion.
Yeah, for me, I think Cody Bellinger. I've been seeing this for a while now. Cody Bellinger to the Yankees. It just makes too much sense, in my opinion. When you think about the Yankees, everyone always talks about left-handed hitters succeeding there with that short porch in right field. He has that postseason experience. He's a winning ball player. They need outfield help in the worst way. He could play first base too for Anthony Rizzo, who's been struggling. imagine pairing former MVPs Bellinger and Judge together. He just to me just seems made for that ballpark.
But yeah, so for me, I have Cody Bellinger going elsewhere as well, but I have them going west to the cheaters, the Houston Astros. Um, for me, there have been like multiple reports. The Houston Astros linked to both Cody Bellinger and Marcus Stroman as well. Um, and for the Houston Astros, um um besides Kyle Tucker, for that post season run, you need to get like one more corner outfielder, in my opinion. Um Corey um Corey Jokes is not the answer, unfortunately. He's just he's too like immature right now at at his point in his career for a playoff push every daytime out there in the playoffs. So, Cody Bellinger to the Houston Astros just makes perfect sense to me as a corner outfielder.
Yeah, and let's talk about the last guy that we'll have time to talk about here today. Marcus Stroman. I think he's going to go to the team I'm repping right now, the Baltimore Orioles. They're a team that does pretty dang well um, at developing pitching. And they do just a superb job with Mike Elias, former Astros assistant general manager. Ever since he's taken over, they've really revamped their pitching and they've had really good success with that. Look at Felix Bautista, look at Yennier Cano. Look at like a Kyle Bradish and Tyler Wells this year, and especially like last year. I know their bullpen was much better, but to me, Stroman just seems like a guy that the Orioles, would do well with. And like we talked about earlier, the Orioles need more starting pitching. I think getting, like I said earlier, Ohtani and Stroman, that would be a world tough out in come October.
Yep. I got Marcus Stroman going to the Tampa Bay Rays. Man, has that pitching staff been depleted, and Tampa Bay just continues to find pitchers to give them a chance to win. But Marcus Stroman will you know give them that championship push, though, in my opinion. So Stroman to Tampa Bay, and last but not least, all of our subscribers and followers. Saturday night, August 5th, we will be having a double A party. So no, so more details will come out about that on Wednesday. But yep, just you know, you know, follow us, subscribe to us, and we will
Thanks for
let you know
tuning
more
in.
about it.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in. We'll be back to our normal picks, hits, and homers like we are next week. And remember, get your Ohtani jersey or Ohtani Oriole jerseys while you can.
Yes,
Have a good
sir.
one, everybody.
See you.